Boston Celtics get thoroughly embarrassed. Now the door is open for the Dallas Mavericks. It's 3-1, but who knows what can happen here after an absolute demur. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. It's fine. It happens. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Deuce, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown. Clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and Jace, how we started raising business. How we finish, locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday. Bonus podcast here on a Saturday. I will not podcast Saturday for Sunday morning. Happy Father's Day to everybody. I'm traveling Saturday, and I don't think anybody needs to hear any more about this particular game after that, so I'll have one day where I don't podcast during the finals. I'm podcasting every other day. But I'm here for you at the American Airlines Center. So make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On Celtics podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's the #1 Celtics podcast in the world, the #1 team-specific podcast in the basketball world. Oh, so, it's worth it. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics here as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Today, I am talking about a Dallas 122-84 win in game 4. So no sweep. In fact, one of the biggest losses in NBA Finals history. And, look, it happens. It happens. Teams have lost by 30 plus 40 points before in the NBA Finals. Teams have gone on to win. The Celtics lost to the Lakers in 1984. We're down 2-1. So they were down 2-1 after a 33-point loss to the Lakers, and they came back and they won that series. The Celtics are up 3-1. They have an opportunity to go win this at home. That's the big takeaway. So very unbothered by this game. I'm going to say this up front. But look. This is a bonus podcast. I get to keep this short. There's no real reason to dwell on a lot of this stuff. The Celtics came out and they were up with like 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. They were up 11-10, and then it all just kind of fell apart. And I think one of the things that will be forgotten about this game, and one of the reasons why I'm actually not too worried about this game, is that the Celtics had plenty of opportunities, and when you lose by 40, people will sit there and be like, you just got smoked from the get-go, and that's it. That's not really the story of this game. The story of this game is Dallas had early turnovers. Dallas had early misses. Boston couldn't take advantage of those. If the Celtics had just played their normal game, and I'm not even talking about just shooting normally. I'm not going to sit there and just say this is a shooting variance game. Some of this is shooting variance, but it might not have been a shooting variance game had they played their normal, just stick to the plan style of basketball that they had been playing for the first 3 games. They came down. Dallas made a run. Luka was getting foul calls. And I think Jayson Tatum especially, but everybody, but especially Tatum, was frustrated because he wasn't getting the calls, right? The whistle, and listen, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this. The refs. All I'm saying is the whistle was slightly more favorable to Luka. I think after him fouling out, he got the benefit of a couple of calls, right? But they were fouls. He drew fouls, but I'm saying that they were probably fouls that wouldn't have been called in the prior game. And Jayson Tatum felt like he drew some fouls and he didn't get some calls. Okay, fine. That happens. It happens. Again, let me stress for the Mavs fans hopping in, I am not sitting here saying the refs. I'm blaming Jayson Tatum for this. This is me setting up blaming Jayson Tatum for taking, I think, the frustration of not getting a similar whistle to Luka early in the game and kind of being in the, hey, you gave him that call, why didn't you give me that call? And one of the things that he's been doing so much better in the finals and throughout the playoffs, I think, but especially in the finals, is not letting not getting calls get to him. And I think he kind of let not getting the calls get to him a little bit. He got a little frustrated. And I think he and Jaylen got a little caught up in the Dallas is making a run, we got to stop the run, versus Dallas is making a run, let's run some offense so we can get our offense going and naturally just kind of keep pace until our defense can pick up where it needs to be. I think they got a little caught up in the, hey, we're closing this team out here, we got to do something. It's a little bit of a departure. It's poor decision making. That was a little bit of a departure. And I think it shows just how thin the line is between winning these finals games and getting your butts kicked in these finals games. And the Celtics felt a tick slow with their decisions throughout that first quarter, that second quarter. Again, this didn't come out as a 40-point blowout right away. The Celtics had opportunities in the first. They had opportunities in the second, but they had long, prolonged droughts being unable to score. And I honestly believe that because they weren't making the same decisions, because they weren't running the same crisp offense, that Tatum wasn't driving, kicking, spray, swing, second attack. How many second attacks did we see in this game? Barely any. The Celtics didn't run that same level of offense. They weren't as crisp. The ball movement wasn't there. So they couldn't generate the same looks that they were taking. And I think that's what led to the poor shooting. I'm not chalking this up to just a bad shooting night where the Celtics came out and, hey, some nights you ain't got it. I think it turned into that because they didn't generate the good shots early. Then they started to press. Then they started to get caught up in the, oh my God, it's getting away from us. It really felt like they had a handful of opportunities in the first half. And even in the third quarter, they had a handful of opportunities at least to hit a couple of buckets, play a little defense, get a couple of stops, and keep this thing close until a little bit of a shooting variance in a positive way can take over, right? Some guys can just hit some shots. You keep generating those, those shots will fall. They got killed on offensive rebounds. They gave up a ton of second chance points. They gave up lobs, which we haven't seen all series long. They gave up corner threes, which we haven't seen all series long. And that's just poor execution. The Celtics, to their credit, came out after the game and said, Dallas played harder, Dallas played better. And they did. Dallas came out and played to their credit. They played great. They played much better, but they didn't play perfectly. This was not a perfect Dallas game. This was a game that Dallas played that still gave Boston opportunities. Boston was not prepared mentally to take advantage of that. Now, whether that's, hey, caught up in the moment, I understand that. Closing out teams are hard. Closing out teams is hard, right? Winning, there's a reason why, even though teams have gone up 3-0 in playoff series a ton, like 159 times, sweeps don't happen very often. It's difficult to sweep a team. You know, I joked around and I wasn't even really joking. It was half joking that Kyrie doesn't want to go back to Boston and get booed, but pride takes over. Luka, did he really want to go back to Boston and play more games ahead of Slovenia trying to qualify for the Olympics in, a couple of weeks? Probably would just like to go home and prepare for that and rest his knee. But pride and, you competitiveness, you don't want to lose. You don't want to go out like that. You don't go out and get swept. You don't want to lose on your home floor in front of your fans. You want to give your fans something to cheer about. So Yeah, they're going to come out and play harder, a little bit more desperate, especially the younger guys, especially their role players. They're going to come out. They're going to play hard. They want to redeem themselves. They don't want to go out like this. They don't want a summer of being swept. So they played harder. They played with a level of desperation that Boston didn't have. Okay, fair. This happens. This is why the term gentleman's sweep exists. You win 3 in a row. You lose 1. You go home. You close it out. Gentlemanly, right? You go ahead. Give your fans something to cheer about, right? That's the whole concept of a gentleman's sweep. So I am not sitting here bothered necessarily by this loss because I don't see it as a loss where, oh my God, did the Mavs figure something out? No, I don't think the Mavs figured much out here. They played better. I think the Celtics got away from the things that they did well. And again, I'm not taking away credit from the Mavs. The Mavs played much better. They put up 122 points. They held the Celtics to 84. Whatever you want to say about this loss, Celtics got their butts kicked. They just got smoked. But when you dig deeper, I think instead of this being it's not a turning point. The Celtics are up 3-1. But instead of this being something like, oh, wow, the Celtics, how do they combat this? The Mavs figured something out. They put this guy on Tatum, and oh my God, now I'll take a closer look. And they probably did a couple of things that maybe the Celtics didn't expect. And I'll have to take a closer look at that and rewatch the game, pay for the Wi-Fi on my flight home and watch that sucker and see if there's a couple of little things. And Al Horford after the game said, look, they did a couple of things. We'll be ready for it. I think everybody after the game had a pretty calm demeanor. I think they understood that this was a missed opportunity. They understood that they should have played a lot better than they did. But they're going home. And this is the upside to this. You get to go home and do this on your home floor, right? It's Monday night in Boston. Crowd's going to be crazy. You will have a couple of days of, film session, understanding, look, we know how we won these 3 games. We know how we just lost this 1 game. Tatum and Brown kind of stunk. They didn't play their same level of defense. They didn't make the same quick decisions. They didn't move the ball. They didn't play the way they played in the first 3 games. And I think Al Horford had the best quote after the game where he's like, look, normally in a series, you play a game, the other team makes an adjustment, then you have to make an adjustment, and then they make an adjustment, you go back and forth. But for 3 games, we haven't had to make an adjustment. So that's telling. That's very telling. The Celtics have come out here and won 3 games just doing the same thing. And they kind of got away from that. How do you get back to doing that same thing in game 5? It's a lot of focus. It is a lot of effort. It is the decision-making. It is the humility. It is that staying present in the moment. And it sounds like a lot of like just generic rah-rah crap, but staying present in the moment and not letting we are about to win a championship sit in your head and say, we have to do it this way. Tatum and Brown have gotten into trouble in the past by saying, we got to do this. It's up to us. It's not up to you guys. And I don't know that they fully did that, but I think when it started to get a little dicey, they fell a little bit back into that. They just got to understand, we got here doing this. We got away from doing it in game 4, get back to doing it in game 5. Am I worried? No. Is there something I didn't like? Yeah, I didn't like the fact that Tim Hardaway Jr. got going, played the whole 4th quarter, hit 5 of 7 from 3. Don't like that. I think, carry over from game to game shooting is a little bit overrated, but a guy that clearly has been lacking some confidence, getting that confidence in a game like this, not the best. You hope that doesn't carry over. And again, that concept is a little bit overrated, but you still hope it doesn't carry over. But I still think, just say this one last time before I wrap this up, and it's a bonus podcast, so I get to go a little bit shorter. When I look at the first quarter and some of the bad decisions and the turnovers, Celtics get a turnover. Jayson Tatum throws a horrible pass. I forget the situation exactly. Might have been the second quarter. The Celtics have an opportunity to pile a couple of possessions together. Tatum gets the ball and sees Derek White streaking down the court. This is a touchdown pass, and he underthrows it by like 5 feet. And it's picked off and comes back the other way. Those types of plays, the turnovers, the reads that were either wrong or late and missed. And when you miss a read, Joe Mazzulla said this after game 3, when you miss a read, it's hard to get that next one because you've now used 3, 4, 5 seconds. You've missed this window. And now you have to work to get that advantage again. And when you are running out of time, then it becomes isolation. So Jayson has the ball on the wing. There's an opportunity. Okay, here's the pass. Here's the drive. Now you go. And you don't go. Well, okay, the guy who came over to set the pick, now he has to okay, well, now I got to go over here. Let's set up our spacing again. Well, that takes a couple of seconds. And then at that point, you're like, okay, well, it took us till 17 to get the ball over the half court because they're scoring and we're pulling the ball out of the net. So you bring the ball up, you set your offense. Now it's 16, 15, 14. Oh, missed that one. 13, 12, 11. By that time, you get to that next action. And if that doesn't work, you're screwed. And that's where some of these bad shots, kind of come into play. And if your decision making isn't on point, if your discipline isn't on point, then you're going to lose. The first 3 games of this series were some of the most disciplined basketball I've ever seen. Amazing basketball from the Celtics. First half in this game, they fouled 3 3-point shooters. And that's completely undisciplined. Completely undisciplined. So the Celtics just have to get back to, this is the plan. This is what we do. We got to execute it. Very simple. I honestly, it's weird for me to say they lost by 40 in this game almost. And so it looks like there was never a chance. I'm telling you, there were a handful of chances in that first half for them to not let it get out of control like this. They could have gotten it back if they had just played with that discipline. The whole second half could have been much, much different. I don't think the Mavs played so great that this was a 40-point win just because the Mavs were amazing. They were great. They were going to win this game the way they were playing no matter what. But Boston had opportunities to keep this close, and they missed them. They missed a lot of them. I think if they do that again, at least it's a close game. And when you're playing at home and the shots start to fall, everything changes. So I'm not worried about it. I think the Celtics are going to do this in 5. They're going to do it in front of the home court, in front of the home crowd. So I think that'll be actually fun. Winning a championship at home is better than winning it on the road. And that's how I'm going to look at it. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you can get more of this. Hope you feel better. If you came into this feeling like the sky is falling, don't. The Celtics were up 3-0. Teams have never lost up 3-0. I know I don't believe in jinxes, so I'm not jinxing anybody by saying this. So don't worry about it. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy it. Hopefully the weather is good. Hit the pool, hit the beach, chill, have a drink, relax. That's what I'm going to do. Actually, no, I'm going to be going to practice on Sunday because there's one more game to play. So I'll be podcasting. Again, I'm not podcasting on Saturday. I'm traveling. Sunday, I will have a podcast because that'll be the Monday show. And then I will be on Monday, hopefully celebrating a championship in Boston. So make sure you're subscribed to get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Hello, all you Mavs fans. Welcome back to the comment section. We missed you over the last few days. I'd love it if you shared the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.